All right. Hi, I'm Carolyn.
And I'm Laila. Hey.
Hey, you were listening to the Sleepover podcast.
Yes, and if you're a devoted listener, you might notice that we just uploaded a new episode that was recorded for you in great love probably like a month ago.
Definitely a month ago, but we finally got around to uploading it, so you're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, so that's for you because we love you. We've been thinking about you the whole time.
We have. And we just came home from about a week in New Orleans.
Which was fucking awesome.
Very awesome. Where we led the first immersion of the second round of our mystery school.
Which is even more awesome.
So awesome. And I am just like eternally grateful because our initiates from the previous year, a bunch of them led a beautiful, heart-rendering, beautiful ritual for us to help bless us and prepare us for the weekend to come.
I know. That was one of the most potent rituals ever. I was just like, we are really living the mystery school high life. Because not only do we put on bomb rituals, but they are put on for us.
Yeah, I know, such the high life. And what I was so touched, because I had written about a dream that I had in September during the fourth immersion, where, I experienced Thamus. And the initiates ran with that dream and ran with it beyond their conscious knowing, to the point that they accidentally replicated all of these elements of the dream that I didn't even mention, that they didn't even know. And I was wow.
Yeah, they fully picked up in the ether on the dream vision and made the dream come true, which just is overwhelmingly the theme of Sleepover Mystery School, is making dreams come true.
Yeah, it's in a sense, I feel like it's sleep over. And then it's you're never really sleeping again. You're always just in a state of dream fulfillment.
Yeah, lucid dreaming fulfillment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. It's rich. It's very rich stuff. And so with that, we went into the first weekend. And it was really cool because I feel like we all felt a lot more in the groove, having done it once before and having confidence that
we had seen the fruit. We had seen the fruit that our beloved initiates became last year, and we're wow, we did what we said we were going to do. We are not liars. We are not internet shucksters just with great marketing and awesome branding. We are the real deal.
Yes.
And we really felt that for ourselves.
Really felt that for ourselves. So we were feeling ourselves. And it was so beautiful. We we had this beautiful hotel in New Orleans, and we set it up so well. It was so gorgeous. And it's turned out to meet our needs perfectly. And
beyond highest wish fulfillment, meet our needs perfectly.
Mm-hmm. As is
the way.
As things go. And I was just reflecting to Laila, one of the reasons why I love our mystery school so much is that it really produces total full-on psychedelic level trips and insights, without the use of any substance.
No.
And I feel we've been experiencing in our this past week has been some deep purging coming up.
Yes, ayahuasca level barfy purging.
Yeah.
Of shadowy bad trip experiences. And I even want to say that those experiences are also so resonant with the theme of making your dreams come true. Yeah. Because that's the dream that you're dreaming, is the weird nightmare trip.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And
you get to see it so clearly. That's the beautiful magic, is the total reflection of what's inside that comes up for people when they go through that portal.
Yeah, truly. And it's kind of amazing because how do I say, words. So they go through this portal, have this experience, and what comes up and the way that it's like a fractal hologram of their whole experience of life is so profound. And yeah, like you were saying, the dream that they're dreaming, they become aware of the dream that they're dreaming. And that's exactly, I was really thinking today about, my old favorite quote from Carl Jung. That is,
the basis of the magic.
Yeah, you gotta until you make the unconscious conscious, it will rule your life and you will call it fate. And I was just thinking about how really brilliantly, like the ritual that we do the first weekend brings that up and like makes the unconscious conscious,
super conscious,
in a way that's like so plain, so like whoa, and not just the ritual, but like the way that we hold it after and like the digestion of it. And it's yeah, and I was just really thinking about how that's truly the whole process of initiation, is making the unconscious conscious, because like what is unconscious in us is like all of our memory of who we really are,
right.
Our immortal self, our inviolable Christ nature, Buddha nature, whatever. Yeah,
that's the deepest unconscious, most buried pearl of realness.
Mm-hmm. It's very unconscious. And and I was thinking about how, like, all of the sort of bad trip stuff of, like, paranoia and, like,
mistrust.
And projection and everything, like, how that is sort of the unconscious or not fully conscious stuff that blocks the awareness of, the great perfection, the great, unfolding.
Well, and, like, the love. Like, that's what really was clear to me in, like, the bad trip stuff that happened, was that like when there's the like deeply buried unconscious impulse and habit of like dissatisfaction and feeling abused and feeling put upon and feeling neglected or whatever, that is in the way of understanding that like the universe fucking loves you and is trying so hard through every trial to like wake you up to like the loving, sometimes terrible stroking that it's trying to give you. Mm-hmm. And like it's such a shield. It's such a shield that like prevents you from contacting love.
Yeah, well, it's like a deep belief in lack.
Right.
Which is, fundamentally sort of what the whole feeling of a separate self is like a belief in lack. And it is really interesting because I feel like the more I do this work, like the less I'm able to like wholeheartedly believe in my autonomy, and the more, the more I experience like my personality as like a cute set of conventions, like that does, that like, sure, I'm me and I'm doing things, okay, but like, anyways, just like,
well, yeah, and like I mean, this is something that's come up for me previously, but like, it's really clear to me that like that feeling of lack and separation is something that like causes people to be in the presence of like great beauty and beautiful people who are so fucking cool and like the fulfillment of all your wishes, and causes you to like cannibalize that inward and be like, I don't belong here. Like, mm-hmm. I'm the unworthy one who like shouldn't be here, as opposed to like totally letting go of the idea that like you could possibly ever have an experience of beautiful people who are so awesome if you yourself were not a beautiful person who was so fucking awesome.
Right.
Like you couldn't even see that in the world if it wasn't you. Mm-hmm. So, but like we do that all the time, is that we interact with amazingness and are like, that's not me. Mm-hmm. Somehow, like, I don't like that. I'm not part of that. That isn't right. Like, I don't deserve this. I don't belong here. That's not good enough for me, whatever. And like, just reject it. But like, the more humiliating thing is to be like, wow, I'm so fucking cool. I'm like dreaming that dream.
Yeah. Totally. I think that you're really onto something there. And I think that it's such a pervasive like distortion in our cultural field that like pretty much everybody is like carrying around with them this like sense of like deep lack and unworthiness, and then all of like the negative feelings and like dislike and envy or whatever that comes from that. whew, it's intense. And I was just thinking, I mean, very self-congratulatory, but I was like, wow, it's really rad of us to be willing to, hold that space where like that all comes up, because it is intense. It is a lot when like it comes up. But of course that is like the medicine person's role, is to like hold that space. But just thank God there are people on this planet like willing to like create opportunities for that to arise in a concentrated, clear fashion, and to be with it and just be like, yes, this is happening now, and you're having that experience, and
what can you learn from that?
Yeah.
What does that tell you about you?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I was reading some amazing Byron Katie last night, from her book, The Mind at Peace. The Mind...
That must be a newer one.
And she was really stressing how she's like, I don't fucking see myself as a teacher. What are you talking about? Like, I see every single person who comes to me as a part of me. And like, I don't help them because I'm helping another person who is going through something that I can't understand. Like, I'm helping them because that's the help that I offered to myself.
Right.
And like, that's just me coming to me being like, me, self, help me. Mm-hmm. So like, that's my loving, genuine response to myself.
It's so amazing. I mean, I love Byron Katie so much. And like, it's funny to me because like, I know that there's people out there who, whatever, like accuse Byron Katie of spiritual bypassing or something. And I really feel like that term has become like such a ridiculous term, because like truly it's used so often when actually somebody is just trying to bring in a spiritual higher truth that is like larger than whatever fussy bullshit people are on.
Whatever moldy locks vibration is happening. Yeah. I mean, I guess I just feel like it's like the deep spiritual truth is that like, if somebody is trying to convince you that everything is terrible, like they're a fucking liar and they're trying to sell you something.
Right. Well, indeed. There's probably a course on how you can become a better. Never mind. But what was I thinking about? If somebody says the world is terrible, everything's bad, that means, where was I?
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
That's okay.
You're talking about spiritual bypassing and how that comes up when people are like actually trying to introduce a like higher perspective truth.
Yes. Yeah. And I guess I just wish that like I feel like people are so used to like occupying some position on the victim triangle and getting social rewards for that.
Yes, highly rewarded.
So rewarded. Getting attention, thanks, sympathy, and...
special treatment.
Yeah. And, it's not that obviously there's tons of pain in this world. And I guess I feel like, everybody comes by it honestly. Like, we have these deep paranoias because, when I just think about like all of like the wars throughout history and how that's like carried in the bodies of our parents, and then how they managed to pass the misery of that onto us when we were like these little helpless beings, like, yeah, it's like every one of us has the onus on us to process the pain of all of humanity. Wow. And
that's a lot.
It's a lot. And it's so not special. It is so like everyone. Right. And yes, it like comes in different karmic permutations, but it is like the same inescapable
pain,
horrible pain, right, that has to be faced and met for one to like live honestly in a loving way. And anyways, I guess like what I was just, I was thinking about how that story making, that like, everything is so bad and like the paranoia and like the seeing everything is awful. I really like Luis Mojica's work so much. And I'm so grateful that, he does somatic processing with us in our mystery school, because he really makes it so clear to me about how when the mind starts spinning off like that, it's basically like because the mind doesn't know a better way to relate to the energetic charge in the body. And so it's just trying to escape that relation and like go into a story that like...
Well, it's trying to make sense because like the mind wants to make sense of everything that happens to it. Like meaninglessness is so offensive and like terrifying. And yeah, and so like I think that's the real like hermeneutic magical choice that we all have as magical entities is like we can choose to make the meaning of our experiences into like a horrible fucking nightmare and like make the suffering evidence of evil, or we can choose to make the meaning of suffering like, oh, this is an invitation for me to like see this bigger, see this better, see this differently. And like to me the like spiritual meaning of all suffering is that like it gives us like a really fucking good reason to stop fucking believing our stories. Like wake the fuck up. Like that story hurts just like it hurts to put your hand on like a hot fucking burner.
That story,
so get your hand the fuck off the burner.
Right.
Like move your hand away. Don't like keep roasting it and like holding it to the flame and being like, when will it stop hurting?
Right. Well, precisely. And what I just think is so fascinating is it's like, when are other people hurtful to other people? When their minds are filled with those kind of torturous stories, that's when like they do their best. The demon does its best to pass itself on. And
the possession is in full effect then.
And so there is really something of exorcism, I feel, in our first, immersion
For sure.
weekend. And that's, it's interesting. That's a major theme in magic, and like in the Greek papyri is like full of exorcism spells. That was like something that Jesus did. In fact, that was a reason why the Pharisees said that he was a demon worshiper and an idolater because he had the power to cast out demons.
Well, so that's so funny because I was just thinking like, wow, it's so good that all of us on the team are like so down with demons and the dark forces, because like it is only because we are like, hey, we love you, demons. You're so fucking cute and cool that like they can come out and like be... maybe not welcomed is not the right reason or not the right word, but like seen and accepted and like transmuted into harmlessness because nobody's scared of them.
Right.
Like,
yeah. So two things that brings to mind is like one, probably the wisest thing that came out of the chaos magic movement was, there's a lot of cool things in chaos magic, but this saying that like the best form of banishment is laughter. That like if you just... a demon wants to be taken seriously.
Right.
And if you just do not take it seriously, like it has no hold over you.
Right.
And then what it also brings to mind is really deep stuff that Milo Duquette talked to me about, and I'm sure it's in his books somewhere, but like the gist of it that I got from talking to him was like, we are truly the higher selves of our demons. Like what our HGA, our self with a capital S, is to our ordinary conscious habitual mind, we are to these like sort of automatic, semi-conscious, largely unconscious like programs, because they're sort of just like these little chat bots, right, that like say these like shitty things all the time. Like they're these chat bots running in a rather mechanical fashion with like not that much creativity or intelligence or adaptability to new situations. And meeting them, like they need to be met with like a ton of love, just like we need to be met with so much love by our angel. And when we're able to do that with our conscious ego selves coming into that relation with those demons and discerning them from us. I guess that's the big first step that tons of people aren't yet able to do, is discern like, oh, this voice telling me that everybody hates me and I've been uniquely singled out for terrible whatever. Like, this voice is a fucking liar. Right. Like, that it's not me. It's not the truth. It's like, and I think that the ability to discern that is such a deep process and takes on a lot, and I really endlessly recommend to everybody Marie-Louise von Franz' The Way of the Dream. It's like this 10-hour YouTube documentary, because part of what has helped me be able to discern that is Marie-Louise von Franz talks in great detail about how, you know, shadow figures and like negative animus or negative anima figures will appear in dreams. And if you're having like negative false thoughts about yourself, like I think she talks about how one day she was like having these really negative thoughts about a book project she was working on, about how it was so stupid and she should just like let it go because it sucked so much. And she went to bed that night and had a dream that, you know, she was being invaded by these like scary robbers. And she woke up from that dream and she was like, she immediately made the connection, oh, you know, those thoughts aren't me. They're these negative animus figures trying to rob me of joy. That's what they are.
Right.
And I feel like when you start making those connections and doing dream work, it becomes like really, like your dreams will show you every single night. Like if there is some sort of, you know, negative, menacing figure, that represents something that is happening within you that is not the main thing that you need to be identified with. And this is something that took me a long time to understand too, because, you know, like there's so much, maybe I need to, this could be my new little soapbox I could stand on, because lots of people these days talk about shadow integration, but like really, that's fairly easy. You can really do, that's actually fairly easy. The hard part is discerning and differentiating from the negative animus or the negative anima.
Oh, yeah.
Because it claims to be you. Like the shadow is all this stuff that like you don't want to be you, but is kind of you. And the negative animus in women especially is all of this like negative critical shit that like takes over your brain and pretends to be you, but is actually just all the internalized bits of like the worst forms of patriarchy just swimming around in there begging for redemption. And it is this like whole process of like having to like, you know, like I just told that story of that Marie-Louise von Franz dream of like seeing like this is something that is claiming to be me, that is not me. I need to differentiate myself from it and come into, you know, find a way to give it love, find a way to give it transformation. But I can't do that as long as I think that it's me.
Right. Yeah, that makes sense. That's true. That's true, Carolyn.
Well, I'm glad I found a new soapbox, because I was beginning to be like, man, how am I going to stand out on Instagram? All these bitches be talking about shadow integration. I mean, bless them. I'm very happy that more people are talking about this. It's an important subject.
It's super important.
But I feel like it took me... It's step definitely. And I feel like it took me like, you know, a while to like really understand that like, oh, this whole animus thing is like way harder, and Jung knew that, and he called it like the masterwork of individuation is like being able to do that differentiation.
Yeah.
But yeah, lots of folks have not gotten to the shadow integration phase. Yeah, it's so interesting how like profoundly psychically ignorant our culture is. Like I was thinking about this today. Like I was thinking about, okay, because what came up for me was I was taking Lulu to the Children's Museum, and I had to like wait 15 minutes for a parking spot. Like there was all these people, and the parking attendants were gesturing at me, and I felt this like charge sensation come up in my chest that I associate with like my traumatic wounding stuff. But obviously nothing terrible was happening to me. Like a parking attendant was gesturing at me a bit more vigorously than he needed to. Like I was having to wait for a spot on a sunny day for a children's museum. Nothing bad was happening.
You were fine.
I was absolutely fine. And this like, you know, this panic associated with, I don't know what, offending authority figures was like happening in me. So I was so grateful for Luis's work, because I was like practicing. You know, he teaches pendulation, which is like you focus on the charge and then you focus on somewhere else in your body that is not charged, that is like in the present moment, that is not in the old,
not in the constriction, not in the fear, yeah.
And then you bring it back gently to the part that's suffering, and then again back to the, and you know, very quickly it dissipated and I was like just back having a cool time. But I was thinking like, wow, that should really be like 101. Like all of first grade should be spent learning that. Why the fuck does everybody not know how to do that? And how much insane, crazy suffering is caused by people simply not knowing what to do when that charge comes up in their body? Because I was thinking, I've done a lot of awareness work, so this isn't really my tendency, but like I know tons of people would have the tendency, or maybe a much younger version of myself, to like form this story about how terrible the parking attendant guy is. Like, I don't know, just
and then spin out into a fucking nightmare for the rest of the day.
Right.
Start kicking dogs because you felt like you got kicked.
Right. And so I was just thinking about how like such a simple thing like keeps like our society is like so like soaking in psychosis from not being common knowledge how to do something simple like that.
Yeah, I was really appreciating from Luis's talk something that had actually come up in conversation between me and a dear one about how like we often like chase like I feel like we have this like idea that like the opposite of our terrible fucking suffering is this like ecstatic like high of like good fucking feelings. And like bliss is way more chill than that. Like joy is actually a quiet animal. And like Luis was talking about how like sometimes we don't even notice the parts in ourselves that are expansive and open and full of capacity because they're quiet. They're okay. And so we really only ever identify with and pay attention to the like tiny parts of ourselves that are like, oh, I'm hurting. This sucks so bad. And we like give all of our fucking attention and make them so big, like make our suffering so fucking huge and make our pain so noticeable because it's like way more sensational. Like it gets you higher. It gives you more. Like there's more stroking
there's
and like there's juice in it and your demon is like fucking feeding on it so hard.
Yeah.
And it's like difficult to reorient your like basically wired for addiction brain to be like, actually, I'm just going to set that down and focus on the like less sensational thing, which is the fact that like I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like I'm actually fine.
There's a book I love, Letting Go by David R. Hawkins, where he really talks a lot in detail about the ego juice of suffering and how like it's a decision to like let it go over and over again. And of course, if you want a great book about getting off on the ego juice of suffering, really climaxing it, Existential Kink is a great book for that. Sadly, we have to get going to our 12-step meeting because we are that cool.
We are that cool. We are so fucking awesome that we are willing to admit our powerlessness over our addictions to suffering and otherwise.
Yeah. So thank you for tuning in, everybody. Love you so much. We'll try to do another episode sooner rather than later.
Yes.
Like, subscribe, leave us a comment, tell your friends. Thanks, everybody.
And join the waitlist for Sleepover Mystery School.
Oh, yeah.
At CarolynElliottPresents.com/SOMS. SOMS.
Yeah, it's at Carolyn Grace Elliott.
Carolyn Grace Elliott. Sorry. Carolyn Grace
That's
Elliott.
Okay.
I'm an idiot.
You can also go to my Instagram bio, and it's in my Instagram bio, the link for the waitlist for the next SOMS.
Yeah, if you want to get psychedelically fucked in the best possible way without doing drugs, you should definitely come to our party. It's super cool.
We're remorseless about it. All right. See you there, everybody. Bye-bye.